Hey, welcome back to Boss Talk Radio. We on the top half of that thing now. We've been counting down the top 10 success hacks. I hope you've been following along, taking your notes, getting it together. We're about to hit this bottom five, or actually the top five. Y'all ready for this? Number 5 is collaboration. I don't know who said it first. I read this book, Taking Back Our Lives in Corporate Chaos, something like that, about 8, 9 years ago. And this is when I first saw the term collaboration beats competition. And the book went into how we've been conditioned all our lives to compete in everything, like from the first time we go to school, everything about life conditions us to compete with everybody else. And at some level, that has its human fulfillment. But I want you to consider this for a second. I don't know who said it first. They said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others, right? And here's the reality. There's times to go fast, and there's time to go far. How far do you want to go? Well, you always have to begin with the ending in mind. And even though in those times where you have to go fast, it may mean you just need to take this one particular task and run off with it or whatever, or you may have to cut some people off to get to that next level and where that next group of, successful people are. Now, some of y'all feel bothered by that. Y'all feel like that's a question of loyalty or something like that. And that's not the case. Business relationships aren't the same as personal relationships. When the relationship is no longer working for you, well, let's look at it this way. It ends in ship. When that ship is no longer going somewhere, it's time to abandon ship. I've had to cut some people off in business that I worked with for a very long time, but it got to a point where it was a one-sided relationship where I'm spending and they're no longer producing. And so we had to, in these relationships that are not productive. But in this new economy, this gig economy, this do-it-yourself economy, there's a stigmatism in that because while it's admirable to, want to bootstrap and everything, one of the things you have to consider is anything you spend time doing is time you're not doing something else. So your objective should be to always be doing the most valuable activity for your organization at any given time. Case in point, let's take myself, for example. It makes no sense for me to try to set up ClickFunnels and whatnot. The time it would take me to understand what needs to be done, master it and implement it and everything, that's time I could be doing some income generating activity that not only allows me to pay someone else to get that done, but helps move the company forward into a more profitable thing. So when the ClickFunnels actually work, I'm available to service that high level clientele that we're trying to attract. And so a lot of you in your startup stage, we were talking about in number 6, we talked about investments. And I get it. A lot of times for your startups or what have you, you don't have the extra funding. Some of you are doing dual gigs where you're working for someone, you have a full-time job, and you're doing your business on the side, hoping that when it grows, you can leave your job. I'm not condemning that, but I can tell you that whenever you're waiting for the perfect time, it'll never come. And as long as you have a cushion, for lack of better words, as long as you have an out, you're probably not going to go all in the way that you need to. Think about some of the times you had no choice. Your back was against the wall. I'm not talking about in your business, just anything in life where it just had to happen. You got it done because you had no choice. And so when you have no choice with your business, it'll be the same thing. But, and I'm not saying commit financial suicide, for everybody that's going to be different. What works best for you. But one of the skill sets that you have to be able to accomplish or master is collaboration. We talked in in the bottom half of the top 10, we talked about showing up to serve. Well, collaboration will help you if you're in that collaborative mindset. What happens is when you show up to serve, the force, for lack of better words, the cosmic energies is going to reciprocate that energy. You're going to get something you need without trying because that's not why you're there. And so sometimes you have to give of yourself to get what you need. Now, bartering and whatnot, in my opinion, should be formal when there's a direct expectation of an output where you're counting on something to get to achieve something by a certain time or with a certain impact. But beyond that, collaboration can be really just bouncing ideas off of each other and finding that someone in the other person's network can accommodate what you're trying to do. And you may have a skill set that that person actually needs at that time. So always be open to collaboration. It allows you to get things done. Think about the late Tupac and the short amount of time from when he was released to prison to his untimely death, how much music he was able to create. Well, one of the reasons that he was able to do that, besides just super sick work ethic, because all the greats have amazing work ethics. So, in addition to that work ethic, though, what he did was he was open to working with just about anybody who he didn't have a personal uh, issue with. As a result, he could go in and do a verse and leave that studio and walk into the next one, the next booth, while three, four other people finish that song. He could be in here and do another verse or two verses or whatever, and then so forth and so on. So in the time it was taking the average person to complete one song, he was literally developing 10 or 11 songs, and he was doing that day in day out, for the better part of a year. And as a result, I want to say as far as maybe 15 years after his death, we were still getting new music. And to my understanding, there's still plenty of music we never heard. Now, granted, some of this stuff would have never been released had he been alive and had say so in it. Prince is another example. Here's somebody who really didn't do a lot of collaboration in the way of working with people on their stuff, but he always found the best of musicians to work with him. So think about what your industry is and think about what industries you serve from where you sit. Who is your ideal client in business? We're not talking about necessarily just the end user retail part, but who do you basically feed or who do you sell to? Then here's the other one. Where do you spend your money? I want you to think about that for a moment, because where you're spending money, there's a collaborative opportunity there always. And you should look for it wherever you're spending your money, wherever you're spending your money to be in business. We're not just talking about when you go out and get your fake Gucci stuff. We're talking about when you are buying things for your business. I don't care if it's a big conglomerate like an Office Max or something, or if it's a mom and pop shop. wherever you're spending money to operate your business, there should be some type of a reciprocity there. Even if they're not directly spending money with you, there should be something in that relationship where the benefit goes both ways. So, number 5 is collaboration. You guys have been watching another episode of the Boss Coaching Closeout Top 10 Success Hacks as we close out season 3. We'll be back for number 4 in a minute.